In the shadowed alleys of Frankfurt's Judengasse, a claustrophobic Jewish ghetto in the heart of the Holy Roman Empire, a family destined to reshape the course of history began its humble ascent. In 1567, Isaac Elkanan Bacharach erected a modest home adorned with a red shield, or Zum Roten Schild, a simple marker that christened the Rothschild name. Confined to the ghetto's narrow streets, where Jews faced relentless persecution, barred from land ownership, and restricted to marginal trades, the Rothschilds thrived through resilience and cunning. Their early endeavors centered on trading textiles and rare coins, small-scale commerce that demanded ingenuity in a world designed to suppress them. The Judengasse, with its locked gates and oppressive curfews, was both a prison and a crucible, forging a community where ambition simmered beneath the surface. Here, the Rothschilds cultivated a reputation for reliability, their dealings with local merchants and nobles laying the foundation for a dynasty that would one day command the world's wealth. This era of survival was not merely about endurance, but about planting the seeds of a grand vision, one that would see the Red Shield rise above the constraints of a hostile society. By the early 18th century, the Rothschilds had mastered the art of money lending, a profession forced upon Jews by Christian prohibitions on usury, which forbade Christians from charging interest among themselves. As middlemen between cash-strapped nobles and desperate peasants, they navigated a precarious yet powerful role, offering loans at high interest rates to offset the risks of default in a volatile economy. Amschel Moses Rothschild, born in the late 17th century, emerged as a pivotal figure, operating a modest, money-changing business in the Judengasse that caught the attention of the Prince of Hesse, a wealthy German noble whose court demanded constant funds for wars and opulence. Amschel Moses's dealings with Hesse were strategic, involving not just loans, but the exchange of rare coins and bills of exchange, early financial instruments that hinted at the family's future dominance. His meticulous records and discreet transactions earned him trust among the elite, forging connections that would prove invaluable. His son, Mayer Amschel Rothschild, born in 1744, inherited this legacy, his razor-sharp intellect and relentless ambition, transforming the family's modest enterprise into a springboard for global power. Mayer's early years in the ghetto, surrounded by the constant threat of violence, instilled in him a drive to transcend the limitations of his world, setting the stage for an empire that would span continents. Mayer Amschel Rothschild's vision was nothing short of revolutionary, a blueprint for financial domination born in the gritty reality of the Judengasse. At age 12, he was sent to Hanover to train under Simon Wolf Oppenheimer, a prominent Jewish banker whose firm exposed Mayer to the intricacies of international finance, from currency exchange to credit systems. Returning to Frankfurt in 1763, Mayer transformed the family's small money-changing operation into a sophisticated banking enterprise, dealing in rare coins for noble collectors and pioneering bills of exchange that facilitated cross-border trade. His marriage to Gutla Schnapper in 1770, daughter of a wealthy merchant, bolstered the family's financial and social ties, producing 10 children, 5 sons and 5 daughters, who would become the instruments of his global ambitions. By 1769, Mayer's acumen earned him the title of Court Jew to the Hesse Castle government, managing the vast wealth of Landgrave Wilhelm IX, whose fortune derived from leasing Hessian mercenaries to European powers. In this role, Mayer invested and multiplied the prince's funds, using a covert network of couriers to move money and information faster than any rival. His access to elite circles allowed him to weave a web of influence, turning the Rothschild name, once a mere marker of a ghetto dwelling, into a synonym for financial brilliance, poised to dominate the emerging world of international banking and reshape the destiny of nations. Mayor Amschel Rothschild's brilliance transcended mere financial acumen. It lay in his audacious plan to transform his family into a global force by strategically deploying his 5 sons, Amschel, Salomon, Nathan, Karl, and James, to Europe's financial capitals. In the 1760s, as Europe stood on the precipice of industrial revolution and political upheaval, Mayer envisioned a banking dynasty that functioned as a single, indomitable entity, each son a vital cog in a machine designed to dominate the world's wealth. From Frankfurt, where Amschel maintained the family's core operations, to Vienna, where Salomon courted the Habsburgs, to London, Naples, and Paris, where Nathan, Karl, and James established their bases, the Rothschild brothers built an international banking network that defied borders. Bound by familial loyalty and a shared code of secrecy, they communicated through a private courier system, moving money and intelligence faster than any government. This network, rooted in the trust of the Jewish community and fortified by encrypted messages, allowed them to outmaneuver rivals, lending to monarchs and merchants alike. Their banks became the arteries of Europe's economy, their red shield emblem a symbol of an emerging empire that operated in the shadows, poised to reshape the global order. The Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815, were the fiery crucible in which the Rothschilds forged their legend, turning Europe's chaos into their triumph. Nathan Mayer Rothschild, stationed in London's New Court, emerged as the family's linchpin, orchestrating the flow of gold to fund Britain's war machine against Napoleon Bonaparte. Defying Napoleon's continental blockade, which aimed to strangle Britain's economy, Nathan smuggled bullion through secret channels, ensuring the Duke of Wellington's armies were armed and provisioned. His brothers played critical roles. Amschel secured funds from German states, Salomon negotiated with Austrian princes, Karl tapped Italian markets, and James penetrated French financial circles, all while funneling resources to Nathan's operations. Their courier network, faster than any government's dispatches, delivered battle reports and political shifts days before official news, giving the Rothschilds an unmatched edge in markets and diplomacy. This ability to anticipate and exploit war's outcomes allowed them to amass vast profits, charging steep commissions for their services while discreetly lending to both sides of the conflict. By financing Britain's victory and France's ambitions, the Rothschilds ensured their wealth grew regardless of the war's outcome, their influence seeping into the courts of Europe's mightiest powers. The audacious climax of their rise came in 1815 at the Battle of Waterloo, a moment that would etch the Rothschild name into the annals of financial mythology. As Napoleon faced Wellington in a battle that would decide Europe's fate, Nathan, leveraging his courier network, received word of Britain's victory hours before London's elites. Legend holds that he executed a daring scheme. He began selling British government bonds on the London Stock Exchange, sparking a panic as investors, believing Napoleon had won, dumped their holdings. Nathan then bought back the bonds at rock-bottom prices, and when official news of Wellington's triumph arrived, the market soared, multiplying his fortune exponentially, some estimate by millions in a single day. This maneuver cemented the Rothschilds' grip on Britain's economy, with Nathan's wealth rivaling that of monarchs. His alleged declaration, "I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England, the man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire," encapsulated their newfound power. The profits from Waterloo fueled the expansion of their banks across Europe, enabling them to dictate terms to governments and shape markets. With their wealth now surpassing that of nations, the Rothschilds set their sights on a grander prize: absolute dominion over the world's financial systems, their red shield a herald of an empire without borders. With the Napoleonic Wars behind them, the Rothschilds turned their formidable resources toward a singular goal: controlling the world's money supply. By the early 19th century, their banking houses in London, Paris, Frankfurt, Vienna, and Naples held unparalleled sway over Europe's monarchies, financing governments, wars, and the burgeoning infrastructure of the Industrial Revolution. In 1816, they orchestrated the establishment of the Second Bank of the United States, a central bank that gave them a strategic foothold in America's fledgling economy, allowing them to influence its monetary policies and trade networks. When President Andrew Jackson, wary of foreign influence, refused to renew the bank's charter in 1832, the Rothschilds allegedly retaliated with ruthless precision, channeling funds to Britain's war efforts against the U.S., including covert support for conflicts that strained American finances. This financial assault plunged the U.S. into economic chaos, demonstrating the Rothschilds' power to destabilize nations that dared to defy their will. Their ability to manipulate currencies and credit across continents solidified their reputation as the unseen architects of global economies, their red shield a symbol of unyielding authority. Across Europe, the Rothschilds extended their grip on industrial progress, funding transformative projects that reshaped the modern world. Their banks underwrote the construction of railways, connecting cities and empires, and financed mines that fueled the Industrial Revolution's hunger for coal and iron. The 1869 purchase of the Suez Canal shares for Britain, orchestrated by Lionel Rothschild, was a masterstroke, securing a vital trade route while reaping immense profits. Their strategy was deceptively simple yet profoundly effective. By controlling the issuance of government bonds and loans, they dictated the flow of capital, ensuring that nations and industries depended on their financial lifelines. By 1823, they had penetrated even the Catholic Church, managing its vast wealth and extending their influence into the spiritual realm, a move that aligned their financial empire with one of the world's most powerful institutions. Their banks in London, Paris, and Vienna became the arteries through which global wealth pulsed. Their mantra, control the currency, control the nation, manifesting as they shaped monetary policies, set interest rates, and manipulated markets to their advantage. The Rothschilds' couriers, still faster than any governments, ensured their decisions were executed with precision, their influence permeating every corner of Europe's economic landscape. The Rothschilds' ambitions transcended mere wealth. They saw themselves as the architects of a new world order, wielding their financial empire to enforce stability or sow chaos as it suited their purposes. Their involvement in the 1875 Suez Canal deal, securing a controlling stake for Britain, showcased their ability to align with imperial powers while amassing fortunes that rivaled those of nations. By the mid-19th century, they reportedly controlled an estimated half of the world's wealth, their banks acting as the invisible hand guiding economies from London to St. Petersburg. They financed revolutions and restorations, backing monarchs and rebels alike to ensure their influence endured regardless of political outcomes. This era marked the zenith of their financial supremacy, with their banks setting global gold prices and dictating terms to governments desperate for loans. Yet their gaze was already shifting toward a grander mission, one that blended financial power with spiritual destiny, the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine, a step toward fulfilling their vision of a world reshaped under their control. The Rothschilds' red shield was no longer just a banking emblem. It was a harbinger of a global order where their will would reign supreme, setting the stage for their pivotal role in the rise of Zionism. In the 1880s, as pogroms ravaged Jewish communities in Russia and Eastern Europe, Baron Edmund de Rothschild, known as Hanadiv Hayadwa, the known benefactor, emerged as the torchbearer of the Rothschilds' Zionist vision, pouring his immense wealth into a sacred mission to resurrect a Jewish homeland in Palestine, then under Ottoman rule. Moved by this deep-seated belief in the biblical promise of Israel's restoration, Edmund invested millions to transform a land he saw as the ancestral birthright of the Jewish people. He funded the establishment of agricultural colonies such as Rishon LeZion, Zikron Yaakov, and Rosh Pina, purchasing vast tracts of land, draining malarial swamps, and building infrastructure to support Jewish settlers. His enterprises included wineries, such as the Carmel Winery, which not only provided economic stability, but also became enduring symbols of Jewish resilience. Beyond mere refuge, Edmund's goal was to forge a vibrant, self-sustaining homeland, a beacon of Jewish revival that would lay the groundwork for a prophesied return. His vision was steeped in a sense of divine purpose, positioning the Rothschilds as stewards of a destiny that transcended wealth, their red shield a symbol of hope amidst persecution. Edmund's efforts were both meticulous and transformative, weaving a tapestry of cultural and economic foundations for a future Jewish state. He financed Hebrew schools to instill national pride, supported the revival of the Hebrew language, and backed Eliezer ben Yehuda's monumental Hebrew dictionary, which standardized the tongue of ancient Israel for modern use. By 1934, his investments had fostered over 40 settlements and secured 125,000 acres of land, turning barren deserts into fertile fields and earning him a state funeral in Israel before its official founding in 1948. Yet, his ambitious projects, such as ventures into perfume production and silk manufacturing, often sparked tension with settlers, who found his grandiose schemes impractical for their immediate needs. Undeterred, Edmund established administrative systems like the Palestine Jewish Colonization Association, PJCA, to manage his colonies with precision, ensuring their longevity. His transformative legacy reshaped Palestine from a barren, rocky land into a thriving hub of Jewish life where communities flourished under his patronage. The Rothschilds' commitment to Zionism was not merely financial, but a deliberate act to fulfill a spiritual mandate, aligning their wealth with the ancient promise of a reborn Israel. The Rothschilds' Zionist ambitions reached a historic crescendo in 1917 with the Balfour Declaration, a British pledge to support a Jewish homeland addressed to Lionel Walter Rothschild, president of the English Zionist Federation. This landmark document was the fruit of relentless lobbying by the Rothschild family, who wielded their vast financial influence and political connections to sway Britain's imperial agenda. Lionel, alongside his cousin James de Rothschild, Edmund's son, worked tirelessly to secure this commitment, leveraging their access to Britain's elite and their control over war bonds that sustained the Allied effort in World War I. James himself joined the Jewish Legion, fighting against the Ottomans to liberate Palestine, while his wife Dorothy later funded the construction of Israel's Supreme Court, cementing the family's enduring imprint on the nascent state. The Rothschilds viewed Zionism as more than a political project. It was a critical step toward fulfilling the prophecy of the Moshiach, the Jewish Messiah, whose arrival would herald a new era of global redemption. They believed their unparalleled financial and political power could hasten this divine event, positioning them as architects of a sacred destiny. The Balfour Declaration was not merely a diplomatic victory, but a testament to their ability to bend history to their will, their red shield guiding the Jewish people toward a prophesied future. The Rothschilds' fervent commitment to Zionism was inextricably linked to their profound belief in the Moshiach, the Jewish Messiah foretold in ancient texts to usher in an era of global redemption and divine harmony. They saw their vast wealth and unparalleled influence not as ends in themselves, but as sacred tools to prepare the world for this Messianic age, with the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine as the spiritual and geopolitical cornerstone. From the early 1900s, the Rothschilds poured resources into creating the conditions they believed would herald the Moshiach's arrival, funding Jewish settlements, schools, and cultural institutions to revive the ancestral promise of Israel. This was no mere philanthropy. It was a deliberate mission to fulfill biblical prophecy, driven by a conviction that their financial empire was divinely ordained to reshape history. Their support for Zionism was relentless as they leveraged their global network of banks and political connections to lay the groundwork for a nation that would serve as the stage for the Messianic era. The red shield of the Rothschilds became a symbol of this dual pursuit of earthly power and heavenly redemption, their actions guided by a vision that transcended the material world. In the early 20th century, the Rothschilds' Yad Hanadiv Foundation, under the stewardship of figures like Dorothy de Rothschild, channeled immense resources into building Israel's infrastructure, from the Knesset's parliamentary halls to the Hebrew university's academic bastions. Their vision extended far beyond physical settlements. They sought to establish a global financial system that would stabilize the world economy, creating a harmonious order conducive to the Moshiach's emergence. By controlling central banks across Europe and beyond, they manipulated monetary policies, set gold prices, and influenced trade, believing that economic stability was a prerequisite for divine redemption. Their investments in Palestine included agricultural colonies, irrigation systems, and cultural projects like the revival of Hebrew as a living language, all designed to forge a nation capable of fulfilling prophecy. This blend of mysticism and pragmatism defined their approach as they balanced practical governance through organizations like the Palestine Jewish Colonization Association with a spiritual agenda whispered in private councils. The Rothschilds saw themselves as architects of both a nation and a prophesied future, their wealth a divine instrument to bend history toward the Messianic ideal. The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 marked a triumphant milestone in the Rothschilds' Messianic mission, a testament to their decades-long effort to finance the land, people, and political will needed to birth a nation. James de Rothschild donated £1.25 million to construct the Knesset, while Dorothy gifted the Supreme Court building, embedding the family's influence in Israel's core institutions. Their contributions extended to countless settlements, from Rishon LeZion to Metula, and their lobbying had secured the 1917 Balfour Declaration, which paved the way for international recognition of a Jewish homeland. Jacob Rothschild would later declare, "My family created Israel," a bold assertion of their role in shaping the nation's destiny. Yet their pursuit of the Moshiach's prophecy remained a closely guarded ambition, shared only among the family's inner circle as they continued to orchestrate global events to align with their vision. By manipulating financial markets and geopolitical alliances, they ensured that Israel's rise was not just a political achievement, but a step toward the divine redemption they believed their wealth was destined to facilitate. The Rothschilds' red shield stood as a beacon of their unwavering commitment to a future where their financial empire and spiritual aspirations would converge in the Messianic age. The Rothschilds' colossal wealth was forged not in times of peace, but in the crucible of war, where chaos became their currency. From the Napoleonic Wars 1803 to 1815 to the tumultuous conflicts of the 20th century, they mastered the art of financing both sides of every major conflict, ensuring astronomical profits regardless of the victor. During the Napoleonic era, they funneled gold to Britain's war efforts against Napoleon, enabling the Duke of Wellington's campaigns while simultaneously extending loans to France and its allies. Their clandestine courier network delivering intelligence faster than any government's dispatches. This network, a web of trusted agents and encrypted messages, allowed them to anticipate battle outcomes and manipulate stock markets, buying low during panic and selling high when stability returned. Their war profiteering was not merely opportunistic, it was a calculated strategy to amass wealth and influence as they orchestrated financial crises to weaken nations that resisted their grip. By controlling the flow of capital to warring powers, the Rothschilds tightened their hold on global currencies, their red shield becoming a symbol of dominance over the economic fallout of war. In the 19th and 20th centuries, the Rothschilds' influence permeated every major conflict, their agents and banks orchestrating financial maneuvers that reshaped the world. During the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, they allegedly backed both the Union and the Confederacy through their New York agent Jacob Schiff, who funneled funds to industrial titans like Standard Oil and Carnegie Steel, which thrived on wartime demands for oil, steel, and munitions. This dual financing ensured the Rothschilds profited regardless of the war's outcome, while their loans to both sides deepened national debts, binding governments to their banks. Their reach extended to the Bolshevik Revolution, 1917, where they purportedly supported Lenin and Stalin to destabilize Russia, paving the way for a Rothschild-controlled central bank to dominate the new Soviet economy. By the 20th century, their fingerprints were on every major conflict: World War I, World War II, and the Cold War, where they allegedly financed arms races and proxy wars, reshaping geopolitical boundaries to align with their interests. Their banks in London, Paris, and Vienna became the financial nerve centers of war, channeling loans and manipulating currencies to ensure their dominance endured through the chaos of global strife. This manipulation of wars was not merely a pursuit of profit, but a cornerstone of a grander strategy to control global power structures and forge a unified world order under their financial dominion. By financing conflicts, the Rothschilds weakened rival empires, be it the Tsarist regime in Russia or colonial powers in the Middle East, creating vacuums that their banks could fill with loans and influence. Their alleged role in instigating wars, from the U.S. Civil War to modern Middle Eastern conflicts, was designed to trap nations in cycles of debt, forcing them to rely on Rothschild-controlled currencies and central banks. This ruthless approach ensured that governments from Washington to Moscow remained beholden to their financial empire, unable to break free from the chains of interest and obligation. The Rothschild strategy was to turn war into a tool for consolidating power, using the devastation of battlefields to redraw maps and entrench their vision of a world governed by their wealth. Their red shield stood as a testament to their reputation as the puppet masters of global chaos, orchestrating conflicts to shape a future where their financial might reigned supreme. The Rothschilds' relentless quest to dominate the world's money supply reached its apex with the establishment of the Federal Reserve in 1913, a pivotal moment that cemented their influence over the United States economy. Through their trusted agent Jacob Schiff and strategic alliances with financial titans like J.P. Morgan, they orchestrated the creation of a central bank that operated independently of government oversight, granting them unprecedented control over America's monetary policy, interest rates, and currency issuance. This move allowed them to dictate the flow of dollars, the lifeblood of global trade, positioning their banks as the arbiters of economic stability or chaos. By 2001, only 7 nations, China, Iran, Afghanistan, North Korea, Sudan, Cuba, and Libya, remained outside the orbit of Rothschild-controlled central banks, and subsequent wars in several of these countries, notably Afghanistan and Libya, were allegedly engineered to bring them under their financial dominion. These conflicts, fueled by loans and arms deals brokered through Rothschild-affiliated banks, ensured that even the most resistant nations fell into their web of debt and dependency. The Rothschilds' red shield became a symbol of their iron grip on the world's financial arteries, their influence extending from Wall Street to the battlefields of the Middle East. Their control stretched far beyond America, weaving a global network of financial dominance that reshaped entire continents. In 1987, Edmund de Rothschild founded the World Conservation Bank, a cunning mechanism that assumed the crushing debts of third world nations in exchange for vast swathes of their land, effectively placing 30% of the Earth's surface under their indirect control. By 1995, they had secured an astonishing 80% of global uranium reserves, establishing a near monopoly over nuclear power and its strategic applications, from energy to weaponry. Their banking empire, including N.M. Rothschild and Sons in London and Edmond de Rothschild Banque in France, set global gold prices, manipulated commodity markets, and penetrated emerging economies like China, where they influenced trade policies and currency valuations. Their agents operated in every major financial hub, from Hong Kong to Zurich, ensuring that no market escaped their reach. By orchestrating loans to governments and corporations, they created a system where nations were perpetually indebted, forced to align with Rothschild interests to maintain economic survival. This global financial architecture was not merely a business, it was a calculated strategy to bind the world's economies to their will, their red shield, a silent overseer of global commerce. This financial empire was not solely about amassing wealth, but about wielding power to shape the future, a vision deeply intertwined with the Rothschilds' Messianic ambitions. They believed that controlling the world's currency was the key to forging a global order conducive to the arrival of the Moshiach, the Jewish Messiah who would herald an era of divine redemption. By dictating monetary policies, they could manipulate governments, steer economies, and even incite wars, creating a world where their banks held ultimate authority. Their mantra, attributed to Mayor Amschel Rothschild, "I care not who controls a nation's political affairs so long as I control her currency," became the guiding principle of their dominion, a philosophy that allowed them to influence everything from trade agreements to geopolitical alliances. Their control over central banks enabled them to trigger financial crises or stabilize markets at will, ensuring that nations remained subservient to their financial system. The Rothschilds saw themselves as architects of a new world order, where their wealth and influence would pave the way for a prophesied future, their red shield a beacon of their unyielding power to shape the destiny of nations and the course of history itself. In the 20th century, the Rothschilds' ambitions transcended the realm of finance, reaching into the very forces of nature itself, as they allegedly harnessed advanced technologies to manipulate weather patterns and orchestrate natural disasters. Through their vast wealth and global influence, they purportedly developed or acquired clandestine systems capable of altering climates, triggering droughts, floods, and storms to serve their strategic interests. Their ownership of immense land holdings, secured through the World Conservation Bank established in 1987, provided them with unparalleled leverage, controlling nearly 30% of the Earth's surface by exchanging third world debts for territorial rights. This land grab was not merely about real estate. It was a calculated move to dominate resource-rich regions, enabling them to manipulate environmental conditions to displace rural populations into urban centers, thereby consolidating their control over both land and people. By driving farmers and indigenous communities from their ancestral territories, the Rothschilds allegedly cleared the way for corporate exploitation of minerals, oil, and other assets, their red shield casting a shadow over the natural world as a symbol of their audacious reach. Reports from obscure circles assert that the Rothschilds employed weather control to unleash devastating natural disasters, weakening agricultural economies and plunging nations into financial desperation. Droughts that ravaged African and South American farmlands, floods that inundated Asian rice fields, and storms that battered coastal regions were, according to these accounts, not mere acts of nature, but engineered events designed to serve their agenda. These catastrophes, often cloaked as consequences of climate change, forced governments to seek loans from Rothschild-controlled banks to rebuild, trapping them in cycles of debt and dependency. Their influence over uranium markets, where they held 80% of global reserves by 1995, and their dominance in energy sectors provided the technological infrastructure needed to sustain such manipulations, from satellite systems to advanced atmospheric technologies. By controlling these critical resources, they ensured that no nation could challenge their environmental dominance, their banks financing the very recovery efforts needed to restore devastated regions. This ruthless strategy turned nature into a weapon, allowing the Rothschilds to seize mineral-rich territories and agricultural lands under the guise of humanitarian aid or economic restructuring. This shadowy manipulation of the environment was a cornerstone of the Rothschilds' broader strategy to reshape the world, blending financial and ecological control to dictate the fate of nations. By mastering both the monetary and environmental systems, they could enforce compliance, using natural disasters as a tool to subdue resistant governments and populations. Their alleged Antarctic holdings, including a mysterious island shrouded in secrecy, were rumored to house covert facilities where these weather-altering technologies were developed and deployed far from the world's scrutiny. These bases, hidden amidst the icy desolation, were said to be the nerve centers of their environmental operations, guarded by their vast wealth and influence. The Rothschilds' ability to trigger floods or famines gave them a godlike power to reshape geopolitical landscapes, forcing nations to bow to their financial empire or face ruin. Their red shield stood as a chilling emblem of their omnipotence, cementing their image as architects of a new global order where they controlled not only the wealth of nations but the very elements that sustained life, forging a world where their will was as unyielding as the storms they allegedly unleashed. In the 21st century, the Rothschild dynasty stands as an indomitable force, their wealth and influence intricately woven into the fabric of global finance, politics, and environmental systems, shaping the world from the shadows. Their banking empire, led by institutions like N.M. Rothschild and Sons in London and Edmond de Rothschild Bank in France, continues to dictate monetary policies, set gold prices, and steer international markets, ensuring their grip on global economies remains unyielding. Beyond finance, their foundations pour resources into cultural and educational initiatives, from museums to universities, preserving their legacy as patrons of knowledge and power. In Israel, the Yad Hanadiv Foundation, guided by figures like Jacob Rothschild until his death in 2024, funds cornerstone institutions such as the National Library, the Knesset, and archaeological projects, embedding the Rothschild name in the Jewish state's cultural and political identity. Their Zionist legacy endures through these contributions, with their financial support for settlements and infrastructure ensuring an indelible imprint on Israel's development. The red shield, once a humble marker in Frankfurt's Judengasse, now symbolizes a dynasty that operates as an unseen architect of global affairs, their influence permeating every facet of modern civilization. The Rothschilds' pursuit of the Moshiach's prophecy, a sacred vision of a Jewish Messiah ushering in an era of divine redemption, remains a closely guarded ambition, whispered in private councils as they wield their financial empire to prepare the world for this prophesied future. Their alleged manipulation of wars, from 20th century conflicts to modern Middle Eastern turmoil, and their orchestration of environmental disasters through advanced technologies have created a world dependent on their systems, from central banks to energy monopolies. By controlling global currencies and monetary policies, they ensure that nations remain tethered to their financial networks, unable to escape the web of debt and influence that fulfills Mayer Amschel Rothschild's vision of a world governed by those who control its money supply. Their dominance over uranium reserves and energy markets further amplifies their power, allowing them to dictate the terms of global development and resource allocation. This intricate system of control, blending pragmatism with mysticism, positions the Rothschilds as stewards of a divine plan, their wealth a tool to align geopolitics and economics with the conditions they believe will herald the Moshiach's arrival. As the 21st century unfolds, the Rothschilds stand as both a historical juggernaut and a mythic specter, their story a saga of unparalleled ambition that intertwines financial genius with a messianic dream. From their origins in the ghettos of Frankfurt to their current role as unseen architects of global power, they have shaped the modern world through their banks, their political influence, and their alleged mastery over natural forces. Their red shield remains a potent symbol of wealth, control, and a prophecy yet to be fulfilled, evoking awe and fear in equal measure, whether through the manipulation of currencies, the funding of wars, or the orchestration of environmental shifts. The Rothschilds continue to guide humanity's destiny from behind the veil, their actions cloaked in secrecy, yet undeniable in impact. Their legacy is not merely one of wealth, but of a vision that seeks to reshape the world in anticipation of a divine era. Their influence a constant reminder that the hand of the Rothschilds is ever present, steering the course of nations toward a future they alone seem to foresee. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit the bell so you are notified when a new video is dropped. Until next time, uncover the truth and question the past.